Steadily it rises.
Hey, it's ODB, the Lincoln Addict, back with another video. Here we're going to review a 64 Lincoln Continental convertible that recently sold via Bring a Trailer. So without further ado, let's jump right in. All right, so if you are on YouTube now and you're checking this out or you're listening, you probably saw the thumbnail and you know we're talking about a 64 Lincoln Continental convertible. I think the big question on this one is going to be, why did this car sell for $114,000? And I want to break that down based upon what we see through this Bring a Trailer auction that ended less than a month ago on June 20th. Now, we know there were about 3,500 convertibles built for this model year. And if we look over at my spreadsheet, it's 3,328. We know that 36,312 total units for that model year. So the convertible, the sedan, and a few of the limos. Okay, so basically, you know, low production number overall. And again, you can slice and dice how many of these are left in existence. I've talked to John Cashman in the past about it. You know, some people say 50%, some people say 50% of those is a high number. So your guess is as good as mine. But I can tell you, this being a black convertible, that is the main selling point. Then we have to start looking at, what did the current or past owner do to this car to add value to it, right? We obviously know the stance is a little bit different from stock, and we can of course see that it has billet aluminum wheels. We can also see that it has disc brakes just from this view right here. So in some terms, you could say it's a mild restoration, mild resto mod, I guess, is a good way to put it. But what we can see, again, front three-quarter shot, looking pretty good. Now, there's a bunch of information here. It was acquired by this individual about 14 years ago in 2011, 22-inch billet wheels. There is a electric fuel pump that's been added, so we'll see a video on that. It's pretty cool, where you put the switch to turn it on and off. This car is also in Canada with an Ontario registration. There were a couple of questions in the comments about, you know, completing a transaction across, you know, the border, if you will. I believe the individual said that he acquired this car from someone in Canada. So that makes sense. He didn't have to necessarily deal with it back in 2011. Replaced soft top. Some of the new lines were installed. Electric wiper motor. That's kind of an upgrade to a certain extent, because the stock wiper motor works off of the pressure, believe it or not, from the power steering pump. We can see there again, 22-inch staggered billet wheels, so you're going to have a little bit of a lip in the back. And the brakes, as hot rodders have been doing for many years, you can kind of borrow and take these parts off of different cars when you're looking to kind of customize or do a semi-resto mod, and that's what they've done here. Jeep Cherokee Trackhawk rotors, while drums are retained out back. So it did have the disc brake conversion in the front, which is also going to lead typically to a new booster, which you will see here. You can imagine anybody that wants a black car typically is going to want a black interior, kind of triple black, if you will. It's very popular, whether it's your thing or not. It certainly drives the price on these cars from what I've seen. We can see the stock dash there for the most part. And we do see that it is an AC car, because we can see the AC vents across the main bezel here. We can look at the brake pedal, or excuse me, the throttle rather, and we can see not as much wear as we've seen in others. And again, that's a little bit of a tell sometimes on how much of a car or how much it's been driven. The 5-digit odometer was reset to 0, which he does talk about. He has some extra parts at the time of refurbishment. And right now it only has 283 miles. So this is kind of a fresh rebuild, if you will. We could see, looking at the engine bay, a few things that might stick out. Again, you've got the dual, more than likely like a CPP, classic performance booster. We haven't upgraded the master cylinder, and that would be obviously required to have the discs in the front. We can see, again, it is an AC car. Aluminum radiator. We also see the shroud, which is going to be key depending on the climate that this car is in and how hot it gets. We could see the valve covers are painted or powder coated, and we've got something going on with the air cleaner again a little bit where someone has taken a little bit of custom Liberty. Looks like a satin type finish, and then they've kind of turned it where the opening inlet, if you will, is towards the front for whatever reason. But hey, it's their car, so they can do what they want. We do get a good amount of images underneath the car, including here. You can kind of see, from what I can tell, scrolling through these pretty quickly a little while ago, it does look like a solid car, which is going to be an important thing. And so far, if you're following along, the key thing is that it's a black car, and everything that's been done has been tastefully for the most part. Now, some people may say, hey, don't like the wheels, don't like, certain aspects of it, but certainly those are things that can be changed. Now, believe it or not, this was originally a platinum car with blue leather. Ironically, I have a blue 64 Huron blue with blue leather as well. And as you would imagine, a good bit of these cars over the course of time have morphed into black because that is a color that's very desirable from individuals. Not everybody's cup of tea. I totally get it. It does have a 52 DSO, so the destination sales ordering or sales office, if you will, was California. Very sought after DSO, that number 52. We did mention that it was in Ontario, Canada at this point. The seller, this is another big reason why it drove a six-figure plus amount, is the seller was very active in the comment section. This included him going out, doing cold start videos, showing the top working. Someone inquired about the auto drops. He added those photos. This is a very cool photo, or excuse me, video rather. Check out where he put the fuel pump. He clicks that switch right there, and the fuel pump kicked on. So a lot of folks over the course of time have said, hey, I want to add an electric fuel pump. Like, let's say, for instance, in my 64, I could tell you, I don't have it set up where the choke is working perfectly, right? So if this car sits for any amount of time, it doesn't want to start unless there's some fuel that's kind of primed. I have an electric fuel pump. You put it on a switch like this individual's done. Let's say your car is sat for a month or longer. You don't have to worry about trying to crank it and crank it and crank it. You can push that button. It's going to prime the fuel up the fuel line, up towards the carburetor, and then you can click it off and you can start the car. A lot of folks have done that, and that's what he's done there. He does have the power windows and all the different videos that I've reinforced over the course of time that you want to have as a part of your sale. Now, there are a ton of photos, and I do not want to go through all of these at this point, but I will tell you the individual did state that he was looking to obtain some sorry, I was trying to fix the individual did state that he was looking to obtain factory wheels and tires. Now, at first glance, you would say, well, why would you want to buy a car like this and then immediately take off these, in many of our eyes, nice billet wheels, definitely aren't cheap, and put factory wheels back on, or factory caps back on, if you will? And the answer is this: when you look at this auction and some of the key things I'm covering, it has so much already done to it. And oftentimes people go, how could anyone spend six figures or $114,000 on a car? Well, let's say you buy a car for $35,000 or $40,000, okay, or less, or a little bit more, and you make a spreadsheet and you start saying, okay, the local paint shop gave me a solid quote of this, the mechanic gave me a quote of doing this and this and this, and you start adding all of that up, everything from sound deadening to paint to the labor, the hours, especially if you're a type of person that doesn't do stuff yourself, and you can certainly very quickly get to an outrageous number. So this car has had a lot of time and care. It may not be perfect. There's a few things that I see that kind of stick out, but it certainly is a car that more than likely the individual who bought it in Rhode Island is going to be able to turn the key, get in, and cruise and really enjoy it. Now, he was also, as I mentioned, active in the comment section. Someone asked about the switch panel being swapped out for 65, and he had mentioned that he had acquired a parts car, so some of the parts that he needed, like a new window switch, he was able to kind of borrow, if you will, from the 65. So there are a few little things, but he said, hey, the originals will be included, which is key. I did notice too that the wheel wells. So you can see here kind of the tires, this tire, not sure if just the alignment wasn't done perfectly or, what happened over the course of time, but you can see this tire's pretty worn. So that would have to be addressed. But again, the new owner rather, is going to look to putting the stock stuff back on. But there were a couple of images, there's a lot, where you could see where it didn't look like they put the wheel well covering back on and little things like that, but it's very minute. This car does not have adjustable suspension, so you don't have to necessarily worry about, hey, I'm going to have to take off the airbag system and things like that. It does have a lowering block out back, but very simple things that can be changed if the new owner desires. We can see the seat belts here in the back. Hey, it's better to have them than not have them. Of course, they're not the factory style, but again, safety is going to be paramount in most people's opinions. We can see underneath the hood here how nice and clean it looks. Engine bay is super clean as well, which is going to be key. And we looked at some of those photos earlier. The expansion tank was it was eliminated. And some of us have done that. We have not had issues. Pat Tien was one of the guys as well up in Canada that did it. We could see that he has relocated, or someone has relocated the coil. They can be a very, it may be in the factory position, but it looks a little bit different with the expansion tank removed. But I could tell you, even if it's in the stock location with the stock bracket, it's way easier to service with the expansion tank removed. Some of us have relocated ours in the past. Here's what I was talking about. These wheel wells are getting a little bit harder to find, and they're kind of getting expensive. It's not the end of the world. I mean, I wouldn't be worried to drive the car. Actually, my 64, I don't think I put the one back on yet for the passenger side, but that's something that stood out to me. Even with the bigger wheels, you can still fit those in there. And again, this car is not on adjustable suspension, so you're not going to be worried about bottoming out the tire on that section. Now, someone commented that they were a little bit surprised that the exhaust with the turn downs was ran just before the axle, and which you can see that here. There's often going to be debate over that, and especially in a convertible car, it really to me is going to go down to, can you smell it? Can you smell that exhaust? If you're idling at a stoplight, is it kind of protruding out under the car and just stinking and things like that? My 64 is airbagged, and it has full stainless steel exhaust from the front to the back, built by my friend Jimmy Graham at Jimmy's Run Customs, and it goes all the way to the back, pretty much in the stock locations. Certainly if somebody decided, hey, they don't want the turn downs in that spot, they could run it to the back of the car. And the tell there is going to be when someone is riding in the car. Is it annoying? Is it something that they really want to kind of tackle, so to speak? Again, under the car, it's not 100% factory, but someone's taken the time to clean it up, to spray it as well. And I would say overall, from what I can see in the photos, it does look very, very nice. And that's going to help drive that increased price that we're seeing. Now, a couple of things in the trunk that I would say, again, a lot of the lines have been replaced. Everything looks really good up underneath here, including under the deck lid. Now, this individual or a prior owner has decided to kind of leave this like painted, smooth look on the engine, or excuse me, in the trunk area. And the thing I would say is, hey, if that's your cup of tea, cool, but you could easily go to Jim Wallace and you could get a carpet kit that would make it look more factory, or you could have your local interior shop go through it. I would suggest adding the bar in here, which I've talked extensively about for 64, 65. It's very cheap to do, and it helps ensure that those two cast pieces on both sides all stay very tight. And again, that goes back to a John Cashman thing that he's reinforced for a long time. We could see here, again, you've got the look of the hollowness, if you will, and I don't think it looks bad. It's just, you could easily add a carpet kit if that's what you want to do for the trunk area. Overall, I would say this car looks very, very nice. So what drove the price is, originally it was a blue car, and you go, wow, to do a full paint job on one of these cars isn't cheap. As I've said, even if you're just curious, check with the local person or check with someone that's painted these cars several times. You'd be amazed at what they charge to paint one of these cars, because the prep work, right? Taking it apart, doing a full color change is a lot of money. All right. no ifs, ands, or buts. But when you look at this car and you see that it's black, it's desirable, it's triple black, it's very clean underneath, it's very clean in the engine bay, it's clean in the trunk. I mean, everything has kind of been touched. Yes, there's a few things. There was something with the when the convertible top was up. I didn't show this, but you've got your header panel where your locks are automatic. I kind of noticed where it looked like they left that section open for some reason. That piece can be removed, but from what I noticed, it looks like maybe they left it open so they could easily service it, but that would be kind of odd simply because, you could take the screws off and take that panel off if you needed to, but certainly maybe I'm reading into it wrong there. I would say in closing, folks have continued to reinforce they feel that the market is softening. A sale like this in late July of 2025 reinforces that it certainly isn't. There are very desirable cars like these classic 60s Lincolns, and especially in the convertible. I think the gentleman that purchased it said that he can't wait to cruise it down the coast in Rhode Island. So congrats on the purchase. I would say solid buy. Of course, it's definitely a lot of money, but he was ready to rock and roll, and I think he got himself a nice car that's not too overly done. Doesn't seem like he's going to go and kind of bag it and do a lot of those things, which someone could do in the future, but certainly I think it was a solid buy and very good for the seller to get over 6 figures on Bring a Trailer. With that being said, let me know what you think in the comments. Let's sound off. ODB, stay on the rise, everyone. Peace.
Welcome to LA where the players play, and we ride on the